Alright, so we're filming. I'm just capturing, like, the candidness.
Nerd.
Oh my god, Georgia, look! Oh my I can't believe he did that.
So we get to see some of our gallery.
Oh, Georgia! There's food. Why? Hello.
How's my friends?
They're good.
Well, you know, if you take a tour, that'd be
Yeah, I mean, some of them.
I'm really glad that there's so many people here because this whole thing has been sort of really a mind-boggling trip for me. I would say that after 2 years of reading about, studying, doing research, looking at this and that and the other thing, I can quite literally say that it has totally changed my orientation to the way I think about where we are now in 2023. If you ever see him interviewed, it looks like he is sort of nonchalant, disinterested, detached, and yes, everybody else does my work, I don't do squat. Well, you know, this guy worked hard. I mean, he was intense and he was constantly thinking and so on and so forth. I just had to, first of all, I wanted to find a way to just discredit him. I wanted to put together an information, an argument, an essay, call it what you want. That says, you know, this is crapola, this is nothing. Just like Clement Greenberg, I'm sort of following in his path because I was raised as a humanist. And I looked at this stuff. There's a guy who gave Andy his first show on this videotape. And I thought about it. And it's complicated. It's not a simple thing. It's not a soup can. It's not a Coke bottle. It's complicated. It's got layers of information underneath it. And when I did that, all of a sudden I saw a Brillo box for what it was, art. Up until that time I had denied that. Now the weird part about that is it almost flipped a switch in my brain. You know, there was the modernist thing, and then there was the Andy Warhol thing. Once I flipped that switch, and I have not been able to go back, I can't see Corot or Poussin or Rembrandt or even Matisse with the same kind of connection. They'll never be the same for me since I flipped that switch. And that's one of the reasons why Andy Warhol, he flipped a switch in me personally. It can be argued that he flipped a switch in the whole culture. We just are sort of catching up to it. But that's a big deal. Different things that Andy Warhol did during his career, like for instance, the silver is he had his main guy, a guy named Billy Maine, I guess his name was, and he had him cover the entire surface of his factory, which was his studio, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, every little architectural anomaly, no matter how small it was. And this was his stage. What happened to me, what I really want to talk about is the word empathy. Empathy has become sort of my favorite word. Most people have no idea what empathy is. They get it confused with the word sympathy. And empathy is different. I don't know if you know, but the word empathy didn't enter the English language until 1908 and didn't appear in most dictionaries until 1928. So as an idea, it's a brand new idea. You know, in the 50s, homosexuality was illegal. People would be arrested if they were caught in the middle of a homosexual act. In England, they were chemically castrating them. Blacks were still being lynched. When they came back from the Second World War, white soldiers were allowed to buy houses real cheap with special mortgages. This wasn't offered to anybody, any person of color. I mean, the racism was as thick, misogyny was thick. I mean, it's just every imaginable thing. After Andy Warhol, I mean, it's just amazing how fast it changed. You had this, you had the Civil Rights Act, you had the Voting Rights Act. In 1969, the Supreme Court said interracial marriage can't be illegal anywhere, which was brand new. You know, if you think about it, we are part of it all. Like, you know, when I say we live, it's all in this little booklet. When I say we're sort of, you know, Caucasian-centered, you know, and we just believe that we're just, you know, that's the way it is. What people don't know about Andy Warhol is that, you know, he didn't have sex until he was like 25. He didn't like to be touched. All that hedonistic drugs, alcohol that happened in his factory was basically a play that he constructed, that he directed, and he produced. And that play created this iconoclast. What he was actually, he was a devout Catholic that prayed with his mother every single morning. She lived with him for 30 years. He went to Mass every week. He would volunteer to work in soup kitchens on holidays so the regular people could get a break. He was a hard-working, devoted, liberal Democrat who worked for Democrats in their elections. He always had a cross on. He always had rosary beads in his pocket and a prayer missal in his other pocket. That was Andy Warhol. But he understood that something had to change. You know, Duchamp? You know, and that, again, that culture had to be stopped. And that's what Andy Warhol accomplished. That was his big contribution. That's what I would be. This one painter, what did he say? Andy's work is less a work of art than an anthropological event. You know, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's an archaeological event. So.